As Jonathan said, I'd like to talk for a few minutes just about the nuts and bolts of the college. This crowd here probably is fairly familiar, but just for the sake of people that might be watching this later, help explain what we're all about, what we're trying to do. Real simply, Comeford College offers a Christian classical liberal arts program. Now, I want to flesh that out a little bit, and first I'll do it in terms of talking about what it's not, and then a few words about what it is. When you think liberal arts today, and you think your typical college campus, that's not Comeford College. Our program is not about being woke. It's not about raising up the next generation of social justice warriors who are going to go out and look for some oppressed people group that they can go out and defend. It's not about learning what things are taboo and that we can no longer talk about and that we have to silence and that we have to go find. It's not about finding out all those dead white guys that we can blame for the mess we're in today and go tear down all of their statues. That's typically what's going on in our liberal arts programs today. What we see when we think liberal arts today, it is a far cry from what it was originally designed to be back many hundreds of years ago. And so Comeford College, with our program, we have an intensive, I think the students will agree, we have an intensive 4-year study of Western civilization, which includes looking at all those dead white guys, looking at the philosophers, so going through the various historical time periods, ancient, medieval, and modern, looking at the philosophers, looking at the great literature, looking at the big ideas. As they say, it's joining the great conversation that has gone on for thousands of years, to bring us to where we're at today. And we understand that here as Americans, we stand in a river that we call Western civilization. And we realize that river, you really can't speak about Western civilization without speaking about Christianity. And so in our program, in addition to studying the philosophers and the great literature, we also teach Greek. I think the students are working on Greek 3 now. We have the music program that Jonathan referred to, and then we also teach Bible. And Bible is the key ingredient to all of those studies, because otherwise we can join a great conversation with a bunch of people over thousands of years who have lots of different, sometimes crazy and often competing ideas. And how does one sift and sort, and how does one make sense of? How does one finally evaluate and decide what was a good idea, what was a bad idea? And that's where the Bible comes in. I like this quote that I came across in one of our studies. It's by William Perkins, who was a Puritan theologian during the Elizabethan period. And he said that theology is the science of living blessedly forever. I like that. Short, sweet, succinct. But that really is what theology is all about, is it's teaching us how can we live the blessed life. And that's what we're trying to help our students come to understand as they join this great conversation, as they're building upon the foundation that's been laid before them, and as they continue to advance the culture. How do they go about deciding what's good, what's bad, what's right? And so the theology aspect of our program helps to then give us a filter to make sense out of all of the things that we're reading and studying, and then enables them to be better prepared to live that blessed life that Perkins talks about, whether we're talking about their families, their careers, their roles in their churches, or their future roles as a member of society. In all of those capacities, we want them to be prepared, not just to go out and get a nice job and have a nice life, but to actually be change agents, if you will, people who really make a difference in the culture that God's placed them within. Right theology, if you think about it, is really what binds all human knowledge into a coherent education. Otherwise, all the factoids, all the things we can stuff in our heads are just a bunch of data points. And again, like I said earlier, they sometimes don't even agree with one another. And so just filling our heads with stuff doesn't do us a lot of good. It doesn't bring us to what I would call true education. And that's one of the shortcomings we have in the modern educational system, is that we have moved away from a true liberal arts education to where we have siloed education. And we've taken different disciplines, math or English lit or biology or whatever, and we've siloed that knowledge. And so we have students go out and get pieces of paper called degrees, and their knowledge is an inch wide but a mile deep in some particular topic. but they truly aren't educated in the broader sense of the word, and certainly not educated in the sense of understanding what all of education is about, what all of knowledge is about, which is a revelation from God and teaching us about who God is. So we believe our program brings back the best of the ancient liberal arts, but then also couples it with the Bible to help us then again make sense and order it out. So that's kind of what our program is trying to do. I believe that program we have to offer will prepare the vast majority of young people for jobs, for careers, except perhaps in the areas of the STEM, the science, the technology, engineering, and math. Those students will have to add on to this program. But beyond that, there's a lot of jobs out there where our program will provide the kind of education they need. So there's a couple of other offerings we have too. Some are in development. Somebody, I think Grant mentioned a 2-year program. We're just now investigating putting together a 2-year program, which would then dovetail into our 4-year program. So students could start with 2 years, and if that was sufficient for them, fine. Otherwise, they can just keep building upon that and working their way up to a full 4-year program. And then in addition to that, we have options for those that just want to a la carte their way through different courses. We have an auditing program. There's a full auditor where you can actually get college credits, and then there's an auditor where you can just come and listen and eat cookies and have a good time with the rest of the gang. So what are some of the other advantages to attending Comeford College? Just a few that I listed here. One is the intimacy of our college setting. We're obviously small, but that gives us the advantage of having a much more intimate relationship between student and instructor. The way we teach our classes is very much in an Oxford style or a Socratic format, where the students are sitting around a dining room table with the instructor and having a conversation. Usually our classes are around meal times, dinners, and lunches, so oftentimes they're having meals together. And so you just get to really know your instructor. It's not like, the colleges today where you go into an auditorium with 400 people and listen to a talking head for an hour or whatever. It's also very flexible. We're able to adjust and adapt our schedule to accommodate our students' lives. That's a big part of what we want, is our students to be out doing life. We don't want them saying, well, put everything else on hold for 4 years while you go to college. And so we try to create the program to give that flexibility. So we have students that are doing full-time jobs or nearly full-time jobs during the day, and then they're doing college in the evening. And so we've just been sensitive to that, and we've got the ability to flex in that regard and help them to participate in the rest of life. We even have our first Comeford kitty, Sean's grandkids. So we actually have a 6-week-old coming to college and doing great so far.
2-week-old.
Huh?
2-week-old.
2-week-old. Oh, he's not even that. Wow, 2 weeks. And then the third benefit to our college is cost. I mean, let's face it, college is stupid expensive, right? But we right now charge $5,000 for a year for college at Comfort. So you think, do the math, 4 years, $20,000. That is like half or less than half of 1 year at any major university or private or a public college going these days. So it's a pretty good deal that way, cost-wise. Now, the one thing, as Grant mentioned already, is what about accreditation? So, okay, program sounds awesome, but what can I do with a piece of paper you give me? Right now, you can hang it on the wall and admire it. We are not accredited, but we are working on that. The first step was to get a doctor in the house, I like to say. So Grant is just about ready to get his doctorate. And at that point, we will then, I think, have the pieces in place that we can actually consider applying for accreditation. Now, it's a long, hard road, and it probably will take us multiple years to get there. But that's our intention. The board has decided that we will pursue accreditation. And then to the students who are the guinea pigs, who are in the program now, the board has also agreed that we will confer a Bachelor of Arts degree to those students when we do finally get that accreditation. So they have at least the hope that all of that work will actually materialize into a piece of paper that everybody else out there will recognize and acknowledge.